Good morning.
Hi, Dan. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I had to turn my heat on this morning
I
because I
know I did
was
the
so
first time.
chilly.
Yesterday was the first time for me. I was like, oh man. But let's be
Uh,
like, Chile was like 50 degrees here in Texas.
hey,
You know,
on Wednesday night, I was out at the soccer game
that was,
and it was
yeah,
43 degrees outside and that we were standing in the cold.
that was a cold day too because it was wet and rainy.
Yeah,
And,
it
yeah.
was cold, but it was worth it. The game was fun.
Was it? Nice.
Yeah, and it was my birthday and we won like 3-1.
Oh, so you can't go wrong.
So yeah, they got their first goal in like the first 15 seconds. And then we scored all of our goals in the first half. So they just kind of
Right.
parked the bus in
You're
the
just gonna
second half.
take it easy in the second half, then, huh?
I mean, not against a team like Sporting Kansas City. They are second in the division and we are 14th out
Mm.
of 14.
You know soccer like I know football, so
Oh yeah, that's true. That's very true. I was trying to explain there. My friends were like, "Why are we going to a soccer game on your birthday?" I was like, "Because I like really love soccer, but I don't like it's
yeah.
not very popular in the States, so it's hard to be like, "Hey, do you guys wanna come over at, like, 6 AM to watch Premier League on a Saturday?"
What? No.
So, it just kinda keeps the love of the soccer, and then one of our guys in the UK hates it. He's like, "Crystal, just call it football like the rest of the world."
No, you can't. It confuses it here in the States.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was good, and I'm
Awesome.
glad it's chilly. I love the cold weather, but I am not happy about daylight savings time.
I know that's coming up this weekend, right?
Yeah, on Sunday. It actually makes me think I'm gonna do a poll, an instant answers poll about
You have
if
to.
people think we should get rid of it.
I think I mean, some states have, right? So, I mean,
One, Arizona.
I think there's another one, right? Well, no, it was on the ballot, but I don't know if it passed in a couple ones.
Oh, okay.
But we'll see.
Anyways, good to know.
Anyway,
Good use of instant answers, though.
we
I'm
can
excited.
we can catch up like this another time, I guess. But no, it's good. So today on the show we have Mark Michelson or Mickelson, excuse me. Is it? I'll ask him if it's Mickelson or Michelson. That might be a good question. I always get that wrong. And then I think first, it's the only announcement we have is, I'll be at TMRE speaking with Prob from Energizer, and that'll be
Wow.
happening. So that's the 15th through the 17th. I'll be there. If you're going to be at TMRE, let me know. I'd love to meet up with you and connect. So that's
And it's
about
in
the only announcement I
Nashville
think
this
we have
year?
today. What's that?
It's in Nashville?
It's in Nashville, yeah.
Great. I was looking for do you have a link to the presentation agenda?
I could find it.
Okay, I'll find it too. That's what I'm looking for right
I
now.
don't have it handy, but I guess I'm slacking there.
I know. I was like, "Where's Mark?" Mark's always good for the links, and then I jump on here. I'm like, "Let me tell you about my day."
It is Mark. It is Mark Michelson. He private chatted me that, so I thought it was,
Okay,
but I get confused by
great
the
job.
golfer. So anyway, so that he'll be coming on here shortly, and that's about the only announcements I think that we have. I know we're kind of ramping things down for the holidays in terms of
Mhm.
webinars and events and things. Are you still doing office hours?
Yes, so we'll be doing office hours on the 29th. It'll be our last one of the year. We're not going to do it during Christmas or the holidays. So we will be doing office hours and we'll be talking about kind of the new things coming to Question Pro in 2022. If you missed X Day, it'll be kind of a general recap of like which new feature updates you might have missed in 2021 and then what you're going to look forward to in 2022. So
Nice.
it's going to be pretty exciting. And we also have a CX webinar happening on the 30th, but I do not have the link for that yet.
Got it.
I asked and they don't have it. So
Okay.
we'll
Nice.
know soon. That's a moderately interesting announcement.
Nice. So there are things going on. It's not that we're not
Yeah,
doing
there
anything.
are. I
Yeah.
mean, you would never expect us to go just like silent. Like we'll
Yeah.
always have lots of stuff
Sure.
going on. And I'm assuming, I also hope that we're doing some Thanksgiving or holiday special live with Dan's.
We are. We are. I know there will be a holiday special. I'm working on that now, getting some music lined
Ooh,
up.
even
So
pre-planning. Woo!
yeah, for once in my life, I'm pre-planning something. So, no. All right. Well, let's go ahead and bring in Mark here.
Awesome.
Hey, Mark.
Hello, hello.
Now,
Hey.
I think I'm butchering your last name. So please help me out here. Please. You know?
It's Michelson, but I get all of them. My favorite
Okay.
my favorite mangling is Mike Michelson. So.
Oh, Mark, I saw you message me Markelson. I'm like, I don't think that's right.
They really just want you to be Meghan Markle.
Yeah, there you go. Mitch Mickelson, you know.
All right. Well, anyway, welcome to the show, Mark. It's a pleasure having you on.
Nice to be here.
So for those who don't know Mark, I'd be surprised, first of all, but Mark is he's a marketing research specialist, 35 plus years of experience across CX, research, you name it. And Mark, I got to ask you something before we get started. So you've been to 70 countries, is that?
Yes, 70 countries.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. What were some of your favorites that might be like?
I really enjoy all of them. Well, some are better than others. I mean, I love Brazil. I love Indonesia, Thailand. It just depends on what kind of mood you're in. Australia's a ball. I mean, gosh, people down there, to me, it's about the culture and the people. And then I'd say probably the food and then the art.
So people, food, and art. Nice. That's good. I like it. Well, thanks again for joining today. I know we teased that we're going to be talking about some of the biggest changes over the past 30 years, and we'll kind of get into the last 30 years, last 5 years. And I think let's kick it off. So what are like the top three? What do you think are the biggest changes over the past 30 years?
Gosh, when I started back in 84, we had telephone, we had intercept. Mystery shopping was still kind of out there as far as that, and then focus groups, IDIs. That was pretty much it, or just looking at large things of data. So internet by far was the biggest influence in my lifetime and career.
Right.
And in so many ways, I remember the days when we were having big conferences arguing about the validity of online versus telephone. And there were all these tests, and we would have all these calibration tests. So everybody and their brother went out and did all these tests to prove that telephone was better than internet, or internet was better than telephone. Turned out they were almost exactly the same as far as correlation. And as more and more people started using the web, of course, it made it easier and then even more elegant. Over time, as we had the smartphone, everything was about making it mobile first and shorter. So in the past, we used to have really long surveys and really long reports. I mean, I remember selling reports by the kilo. So it's not
that explains the countries you've been to.
But nowadays, everything is much more streamlined and really to the point. So from the internet, just being able to do data collection efficiently, we also were able to do more complex things like conjoint, for instance. Conjoint was always done with cards, and you had to be in person and all this kind of stuff. No telephone survey could do that. So being able to do more complex analytics. And I think that mobile is also really cool for qual. Qual has really shifted about, I'd say 15 years ago, 2000, maybe 20 years ago, as we started to come more and more familiar with things like uploading photos.
Right.
And then when the smartphone came around, it really blew up for qual because we could do videos and sharing. And so mobile ethnography became a thing. In the past, we were always, how do you self-diary stuff versus observe people in the wild?
Right.
And now, we've been through a lot of that, and it's become more acceptable now to be able to do mobile ethnography as well as bulletin board type discussions. So that's a big shift. Now, I think the biggest one that's catching everyone off their feet now, it's really kind of two-pronged, but speed of delivery is just huge. It used to, right, Crystal?
I have a question.
You agree? Yeah, go ahead.
What's your question?
Well, first of all, I don't know what ethnography means. And second of all, what speed of delivery to the customer, like your client, or to the consumer? Speed
of delivery to the client for marketing research intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay. So ethnography is best stated like living in the shoes of your customer, living in the shoes of another. It's an anthropological method. It has to do, in the past, I mean, we used to go in with me and a videographer would go and basically stay with a family for a couple of days, or go to work with someone for a couple of days, like a UPS driver. Just jump. I've ridden so many tractors, I can't begin to tell you.
No, it is true. It's the best way maybe you could describe it is It's like the TV show You, but in a research sense, where you're following people and you don't really want them to know.
It's so dark.
Yeah, and in the past, I mean, we for cooking, watch them cook spaghetti or change, or baby rooms, and how do you deal with children, or all these different topics. We had to go and basically observe them, and this is back, for years. This was the thing.
Instead of doing self-reporting.
Yeah, it's self-reporting, and there's some funny things about that. Like objects under observation behave differently, right? That's a physics thing, Heisenberg principle and all that. So those things come into play, but I think people are, as much as they like to self-edit, we're still getting a good story from them, especially in larger quantities. At reach across the country, speed to delivery for data, for instance. Gosh, mystery shop reports used to be hand printed, mailed, or faxed, and then we had to do quality control to enter them. Surveys would come in from the field, and we'd have to do data entry, right? Those kinds of things took a while, so you could expect a month or two before you get a report. Now, how many minutes?
Right, that's true. It's true.
I could deploy a survey right now, as you know, and get the results back. And I remember that was a fascinating thing when we could actually have video captures from the field within a minute or two.
Yeah.
And we'd do that during conferences. Everyone's like, "Wow!" Nowadays, put your quarter and get your report out.
Right. No, it's true. I mean, that's kind of table stakes now, right? You need to have that, something like that. But
that's huge. And then being able to act on it, closed loop. And that's where CX really comes into play now. So in my world, there's all this front end research that designs stuff, right? And I'm involved in a lot of journey mapping things or product design or building design studies on the front end. Largely qualitative, but some quant to make sure you're making a good decision. On the back end, which is where CX research kind of lives mostly now, is the measurement stuff.
Right.
And with that came some fun complexities. So, for instance, transactional data capture. How satisfied are you each transaction, and also different types of metrics. The NPS came along, as well as CSATs have kind of always been there, but then you have CES, customer effort scores, and others. These are now being monitored. In the past, we had mystery shopping and SAT scores, and they would go into an index. Now you have these data points coming in along with operational data, sales data. So you have several different points of view of transactional perceptions, right? As well as operational data. Was it delivered on time or not? You can tell.
Right.
And, what other things were going on. So, how long did someone sit on a website, for instance? That's just observational. Versus how did you feel about navigation?
Right.
So those types of data are now coming together in one place at the speed of, of instant. And more importantly, there's closed loop stuff around those data measures. So as the measures come in, then you can assign, how do we fix this and get it done quickly instead of taking a couple months to examine it.
Right.
Have an idea, go out and test it again.
No, that makes sense. So then, you talked about sort of like the speed to insights, or people want things quicker now. You don't need to do the big, published report and send it out, or maybe you do in a different sense. But, people, probably your clients and people you've worked with, they still want that data. How are you able to get it done quicker?
It's fun. I actually, when I consult with my clients, I'm like, look, we can all look at these data together as they come in on your dashboards, on your platform, on Question Pro. You can sit there and watch them come in. All right. We all have the same information. It's what we do to interpret the information that gives us insight. Okay. And that's the hard part that I haven't really seen AI be able to do yet. I mean, they can help make things easier as far as analytics, especially, big open-ended kind of things. Right. But it's not necessarily going to tell you what to do about it. And that's where the marketing consulting comes in. You say, okay, well, these are the data points. This is what we've learned, right? Now, what do we do? What are the top 3 things I need to do today to improve my situation? It's better serve customers, better income, whatever it might be. So we're always trying to move that needle, up. And so data is going to inform those decisions as we go up. There's a huge self-serve culture out there now, as you know, within survey
Oh
research,
yeah. Yep.
mystery shopping, whatever. I can put a quarter in, get a photo of a Walmart display in Topeka right now. I'm
Mhm.
sure I can have it in 10 minutes.
Mark,
yeah,
that's
no,
my hometown.
Oh, there you go. I'm pretty sure I could do this, but
It's
then again,
so
what do I
random.
do about it? What do I do when I
Yeah.
have the information? If I can't act on something, why even bother gathering?
Right. That's a good
Mhm.
point. I think. Why have the data if you can't act on it? And
Well, and so many people just want to gather data to say they have it,
Well, if that's
right?
their only job, that's fine. They're just doing their job and checking it off and kicking the can down the field. The key is how do you actually change a business, improve a business, better serve
Mhm.
customers? And so you have to have that in mind when you design a study.
yeah,
Why ask
Yeah.
stuff you can't do anything about? I hate all the demographic questions. We know these people. We can go in there and figure it out. You know, we don't need to know shoe size unless we're selling shoes.
right. That's true. That's true. Mark, do you think having all this data is a detriment, or do you see it as
No, it's just taking us a while to filter out what's needed and valuable and what's not. I mean, sometimes
Mhm.
you really have to sift a lot. I mean, but it's like the old story when the whole room's full of horse poop. Keep looking for the horse.
right? It's true.
You gotta
Didn't
sort.
know that was a
It's there.
saying.
It's there. You just gotta sort through it in order to find it. So, talking with a lot of friends who are deep big data analytic people,
Mhm.
the highest speed powers we have now allow for such cool stuff that we couldn't do before. Regression, being able to do uh, uh, different types of segmentation. You can do that now. Latent class, for instance, you would not have been able to do that on the firepower we had 20 years ago.
Right.
As
Right.
far as
Mhm.
as far as processing power, you'd still be waiting for it.
That's true. That's so true. What do you see? What are the directions of some of these tools and of research overall that you see? What direction are we going in the next 5 years in your
Well,
viewpoint?
it seems like everyone and their brothers buying each other out. So
I know. I'm not sure what's happening. This week was a quiet week compared to last week. So
yeah, well, there
Yeah.
you go. And with that comes all kinds of interesting things. For instance, I've been looking at a lot of journey mapping, cloud-based journey map and data-driven platforms. That's a
right.
mouthful. So I'm looking at that kind of stuff, saying, how can I find one of these that's going to be around a while and that will also accept good inputs? So it's a living map instead of just a static picture. And
Mhm.
and I'm looking at that saying, okay, more of those kinds of tools being adopted into voice of customer platforms that bring it to life for regular people. Also being able to close loop around this stuff. If you just focus on customer experience realm of
Mhm.
monitoring and measuring stuff, right? You monitor it. The old saying, what gets measured gets done. I think Tom Peters said that.
Mhm.
So if you're looking at trying to move the needle, then you need to understand where the needle is at all times. It's kind of
Mhm.
like an insurance policy. Is there a fire? Great. Like I'm alerting.
right.
But
Right.
just gathering together is one thing. But the other key is identifying your priorities. What's really going to make a change? I hear a rattle, but what is it causing the rattle? Right.
Mhm.
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 And then being able to go in there and say, I need to replace this thing or upgrade it or something. And we all, as customers, have to go through all the time from call center waiting to whatever, product delivery, etc.
Right.
So it's just a matter of taking a long view on it and saying, how do we get to the horse in the room?
How do we find the horse quicker so we're not
Yeah, how do we
having
find
to
the horse?
wade through all that manure, right?
Exactly. And
Right.
there's lots of ways to gather and analyze data. And I think that the more and more AI tools are coming into play, it's going to
Mhm.
make life easier. It's not easy using all these tools either. I would like to see, it's like when we had AC and DC electricity,
Mhm.
which one's going to work long term? There's so many
Right.
different.
Right.
Oh, do it. We speak this language. No, it's called that, and you're like, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but different. Yeah. Right. It's
I was
true.
like,
That's
I
true.
don't think I know what AC and DC electricity is.
Yeah, well, there's battery. Well, that's a whole nother discussion. But at the time you had Tesla versus Edison. Okay, and
Oh,
they
yeah, I know who
how they
those guys are.
generated energy and how long it would keep. And it's just, but again, it's a matter of terminology and approach, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
what is the best way to do stuff? For a while, as we got into mobile, it was all about the micro survey. a micro survey, do several surveys over time and data
Yep.
stitching.
Yeah.
I think we're somewhat back to, okay, let's have intentful purpose around our surveys. Go in and if you can get that 2 or 3 things you need an answer to, great. But do you need to surround it with another 10 questions around who you are, and demographics and things?
Right. You don't need that necessarily.
Most of the time, we
It
already know
doesn't. It
that.
depends on how you sample, right? Yeah, you already have that. Yes.
Right. So I think generally there's like this sweet spot of 10 to 12-minute surveys are okay, but I still see people like kind of pushing the envelope further and further, like trying to jam everything in. I think one of the best lessons is like ask yourself, like, if you're a respondent, would you take this survey? And if the answer is no, then don't feel it. Like,
Make it a little more engaging and somewhat more fun if you can. I mean, gosh, the world's incentivized to death, and you don't want people just doing it because they're going to get a prize at the end. You want them to do it because they actually have something to say, and if
Right.
you can help them say that as easy as possible, just like in qualitative, people can't always even say what they're thinking, so we use projective techniques. Choose this picture. What do you see in the picture? Right? It's not anything about, and yet we're going deeper.
Right.
I think some of that may come out even more so in surveys at some point. I've seen a lot about, like when Tinder came out, you could swipe right, swipe left, just a real quick kind of subliminal choice modeling.
Now everybody does it.
Yeah.
Like,
now
why would you have an app that doesn't swipe? That's so silly.
exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think though that some of those, especially with the qualitative, when you have companies that DIY and may or not have like market research professionals, do you think that some of those deep insights are missed because it's like, I just want to be able to get the yes or no, and if they're not market research professionals, they don't know how to kind of like sift through the
it could be. I mean, you look at Apple, they never did any research. Came up with some great products. If we'd asked the old adage coming back again, if you'd asked would you get into a metal tube being hurled through the air with peanuts thrown at you crammed into a small chair?
Right.
No.
That doesn't sound fun, right?
And at the time you couldn't even visualize that kind of thing. At the time we changed from horses to cars. Why would I need a car? I've got a perfectly good horse.
Right.
Sometimes it's going beyond the data a little bit, and that's where I think it's more important to have a marketing mindset and a background to understand and meet the need of customers, rather than be analytics are important. You have to have good data. You have to have solid foundation. But a lot of what we do is basically just trying to predict what people are going to think and do, right? And if you're trying to get to that, you have to have your sampling and things. But if you're just trying to get a toe in the water and get some direction, I don't know if you have to be a professional to do that. You just have to have curiosity and open mind. And really, what is the best way? Sometimes it's just observation. Sometimes it is inquiry and conversation. Other times it's reflection from others. So what is all this is trying to help people in business make better decisions. Period. And if they on their own can wander around more, if they had time to, they may be inspired by something they see that's not in any research report. That's where I'm going. It's sometimes the something that's not asked that we're missing. And that's why
if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't.
Well, sort of. I mean, actually, the more every day I get stupider and stupider because the more I know, the less I know. It's wonderful.
I love that.
That's a good quote. I like that. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it depends on sort of what you're looking to find out, the different methods and so forth. I think a few more questions for you, Mark, and then we'll let you go. But what, in terms of the convergence of CX and market research, are you seeing this as well? Do you think it's always been there, and we're just
huge? No, it's just huge.
Okay.
We never called it CX in the old days. We were designing stores and products and doing mystery shopping and things. It was a term that came around a little bit later, but now it seems it's the latest gold in them our heels kind of thing. So with CX, I find that there's a battle right now, really more in the marketing for CX realms. CMOs are trying to be the CX leaders. Operations needs to embrace CX too. And marketing research departments are being almost just obliterated because they're now being tasked to specific areas, and it's just sort of a consumer listening or voice of customer kind of thing.
Mhm.
And as more and more people are just putting their bonuses or whatever around one metric like an NPS, their whole goal becomes, how do I get my NPS score up? Go to any car dealer and get your car fixed, and what are they going to tell you? Make sure to give me a 10 on that
Right. Yeah,
thing, you know?
that's true. Yeah.
We used to do it with apartment communities, and we were handing out paper surveys at the time, and one community came back, all 35 questionnaires were in the same exact handwriting with different color ink. So, it becomes the wrong goal for the business unit to try to get a better score without necessarily thinking what's driving the score.
Mhm. So you think I mean, in your view, then you take the customer satisfaction, that's like a data point, right? And then you should do additional research based on that to see either why
Just
it's
like
going
with
well,
NPS, I mean, why did you give this score? That's more important,
Mhm.
right? Why did you give this score? As far as the CX world, though, in general, we never saw valuations of companies in the billions
True.
until CX came along.
Mhm.
And now it seems like every week or two, there's another company being sold for billions of dollars. It's a survey platform or something,
Right.
or whatever it might be. That's a technology play within the CX space. The market research industry as a total, maybe 67, $70 billion annually worldwide.
Mhm.
Heck, there's companies out there worth that much now.
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. When you throw around billion like it's nothing, you're
Yeah.
you're-
I mean, it's just the valuations on these things. There has
Yep.
it's a whole different headset that says that's important stuff versus, oh, that's just information nice to know.
Right. Right.
And then when it is tacked into your systems for responding to people, it's important to have that. Like what gets measured gets done. So adding in the X and the O data, as it's known, together gives you a better handle on what's happening now and how do I make sure I don't have something bad happen.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily help you design better stuff. It just points out where the aches and pains are.
That's a good point, actually. I like that. I think, Mark, real quick, what are some practical steps you think researchers can take to kind of help stay ahead of the curve? Obviously, they can, take courses and stuff, but what's worked well in your estimation?
Keep an open mind.
Yeah.
I think as we as practitioners have our own specialties, it's like when you're selling hammers, the whole world's a nail.
Mhm.
Just remember there's more tools in the kit, and familiarize yourself with those tools, because the hammer is not going to do what a drill does or a screwdriver.
Right. That's
And you
true.
need to make sure you have a good grasp of all the different tools and when it's appropriate to use them.
Perfect. I think that makes sense. That's probably a good spot to wrap it up, Mark. I think,
Thanks so
that's,
much, Mark.
yeah, thanks so much for joining
Yeah,
us
my
today. It's
pleasure.
awesome. We'll do a round two next year, I think,
Yeah, always enjoyable chatting with you guys. And
Yeah.
Did you look out the window to next year, Dan?
Yeah, I look out the window,
coming soon?
There it is, Yeah. All right. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Sure. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Have a great weekend. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye. All right.
So
Christina.
good.
That was
I
awesome.
know. I also had like a bunch of thoughts going on around like themes for just like X days next year or lives with Dan's as he was talking. One of which
Yeah.
I literally was like typing out to Slack to you while he was talking.
That's those notifications I was getting. All right. No, interesting.
No,
A lot of different points and nuggets. I think could have gone down a lot of different rabbit holes, and I think next time he's on, I think we'll do that. So that'll be fun.
I love it. So many good, as we really go into the next years of like DIY research and how, everyone can run surveys, which is great. Love empowering people, but make sure they're interpreting the data in a way that they're actually providing change and value, I think is definitely going to be a theme over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. You couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, look, only been 2 years, Dan, and I finally got the market research language down.
3 years.
You heard it here first, people.
See, there you go. And you learned something new today with ethnographies. So there you go.
I know, every week, man. Every week.
Awesome. Well, I think we can probably wrap up the show today. I don't have any data points, so
Oh,
I knew this would probably be a longer discussion. So,
I know, but I get sad. I love data points.
well, I can give you one. I mean, we ask instant answers all day on our Slack channel. So I can give you one.
If you haven't if you don't follow us on LinkedIn and you're watching us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, make sure to go to our LinkedIn account and check out some of the instant answers. We post about 2 a week, just like fun facts.
Yeah.
We did a Halloween themed one this last week about what you think is the biggest spook or
I think it was a black cat, right? Crossing in front of the black cat was the walking on the
and
ladder.
then we did some surveying about Apple shows. Like 40% of Americans don't watch Ted Lasso or only watch it. It was like a really low number.
Oh wow.
It made me sad.
We asked one instant answer. Diwali is going on right now, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And so only 34% of when we asked the U.S. population, only 34% knew what Diwali was, or they heard of it. Only 34% have heard of it.
Oh my gosh, I missed that one.
Yeah, and then we asked, what was the question? Let me get the wording of this question correctly here. It was Diwali is ... a city in India, a famous painter, a baking dish, or a celebration. And what do you think the highest rated response was? A city in India.
Well, I'm looking at it now, so I cheated.
So yeah, those are some interesting ones that we like to ask. But
that's so good. And if you guys have an instant answer you want us to ask, drop it in the comments below. We will field it for you and answer it on the next Live with Dan.
Yeah, awesome. Be happy to do that.
Sorry,
Perfect.
Just decided we were going to do that.
Geez. I guess you're producing my show now too. I like it.
Sorry, my bad.
No. All good. All right. Well, I think that's a good spot to wrap it up today.
Awesome. I'll chat with you later, Dan.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.